The coffin was about to close when Serena's voice shattered the silence like a gunshot. "He's not dead. Welcome back, my friends and family. This is part 2 of our beautiful story. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I truly invite you to go back and experience the beginning of this emotional journey. But if you've already walked with us through part 1, then sit back, open your heart, and let's continue together, because what comes next will touch you even deeper." A man stepped out of the shadows behind her. Tall, dangerous, a professional. "She wants to play hero," Elena said without turning around. "Let her." She took a sip of wine. "But make sure it's the last thing she ever does." The man nodded and disappeared into the night. And Elena smiled. The next 2 days passed in tense silence. Luca worked on his laptop, reaching out to journalists, gathering evidence, building their case. Serena kept watch, jumping at every sound, every shadow that moved past the window. They barely slept. When they did, nightmares pulled them back to consciousness within hours. On the 3rd morning, Luca received an encrypted message. It was from a reporter named Marcus Hahn, someone Luca said he'd known before the accident. Someone he trusted. "He wants to meet," Luca said, reading the message. "Today. In person. He says he has information we need to hear." Serena's stomach knotted. "Where?" "A diner. Public place. 40 minutes from here." She didn't like it. But they were running out of options. "Okay," she said. "But we go armed." Luca looked at her, surprised. "With what?" Serena walked to the kitchen and pulled a chef's knife from the drawer. "This." Luca almost smiled. "You're terrifying, you know that?" "Good," Serena said. "Let's keep it that way." They took a back road into town, keeping their heads down. The diner was small, tucked between a hardware store and a laundromat. A handful of people sat inside, nursing coffee and staring at their phones. Marcus Hahn was waiting in a corner booth. He was in his 40s, graying at the temples, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. When he saw Luca, he stood, extending his hand. "Luca Moretti. I thought I'd never see you again." Luca shook his hand. "You and everyone else." Marcus gestured for them to sit. His gaze shifted to Serena. "And you must be the woman who stopped the funeral." Serena nodded, saying nothing. Marcus leaned back, studying them both. "You've caused quite a stir. The whole city's talking. Hell, the whole country." "That's not why we're here," Luca said. "I know," Marcus replied. "You want to expose your father. Burn the whole empire down. Can you help us or not?" Marcus pulled a folder from his bag and slid it across the table. "I can. But you need to understand what you're up against." Luca opened the folder. Inside were photos, documents, financial records. His face went pale as he read. "What is this?" he asked quietly. "Proof," Marcus said. "Your father's been laundering money for some very dangerous people. Politicians, crime syndicates, foreign operatives. If you go public with what you know, you won't just be taking down the Moretti family. You'll be exposing half the power structure in this city." Serena's heart sank. That's why they wanted him dead. Marcus nodded. Luca was the one person in the family with a conscience. When he started asking questions, digging into the books, they panicked. The car accident wasn't random. It was a hit. Luca's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. "And my father knew." "Your father ordered it," Marcus said bluntly. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Serena reached for Luca's hand, squeezing it tightly. He didn't pull away, but his face was ashen. "So what do we do?" she asked. Marcus leaned forward. "You go on record. I'll publish the story. Every major outlet will pick it up within hours. Your father won't be able to bury it. And the people he's working for won't be able to touch you without drawing even more attention." He paused. "But you need to understand. Once this goes live, there's no going back. Your life as you knew it. Over. Forever." Luca looked at Serena. She met his gaze, steady and unflinching. "I'm in," she said. Luca turned back to Marcus. "So am I." Marcus nodded. Then we do this today. I've got a camera crew standing by. We'll record your testimony, upload it to a secure server, and release it simultaneously across multiple platforms. By tonight, the whole world will know the truth. Let's do it, Luca said. But before they could stand, the diner door opened. A man walked in. Tall, dark suit, sunglasses even though it was overcast outside. Serena's instincts screamed. Luca, she whispered. He saw the man too. His body went rigid. The man walked slowly toward their booth, his hand moving inside his jacket. Marcus noticed. His eyes widened. Get down. The gunshot was deafening. Serena screamed as the window behind them shattered. Marcus dove under the table. Luca grabbed Serena, pulling her down just as another shot rang out. Chaos erupted. People screamed, scrambling for the exits. The man advanced, firing again. A coffee pot exploded. The counter splintered. Serena's ears rang. She couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Luca dragged her toward the back of the diner. They crashed through the kitchen door, the gunman right behind them. Go, Luca shouted, shoving her toward the rear exit. Not without you. Another shot. The bullet hit the wall inches from Serena's head. Luca grabbed a frying pan from the stove and hurled it at the gunman. It hit him square in the face. He stumbled, cursing. Luca and Serena burst through the back door into an alley. They ran, their feet pounding against wet asphalt. Behind them, the gunman recovered, giving chase. Serena's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she didn't stop. They rounded a corner, ducking into a narrow passageway between two buildings. Luca pulled her behind a dumpster, pressing a finger to his lips. Footsteps approached. Slow. Methodical. The gunman appeared at the entrance to the passageway, his weapon raised. Serena held her breath, her heart hammering so hard she was sure he could hear it. The man took a step forward, then another, and then a voice called out from the street. Hey, police, drop your weapon. The gunman hesitated, then turned and ran. Serena and Luca stayed frozen, listening as the footsteps faded. When silence finally returned, Luca exhaled shakily. We need to move. Now. They stumbled out of the passageway, cutting through back streets until they reached an old parking garage. Luca hot-wired a car, a skill Serena didn't know he had, and they drove. They didn't stop until they were miles away, parked behind an abandoned gas station. Luca's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Marcus. We left him. He's alive, Serena said, though she didn't know if it was true. He got under the table. He'll be okay. Luca closed his eyes, his jaw tight. Serena touched his arm. This is what they do. They try to scare us. Try to make us give up. And it's working, Luca said bitterly. No, Serena said fiercely. It's not. Because we're still here. We're still fighting. Luca looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Determination replacing despair. You're right, he said quietly. We finish this. Serena nodded. We finish this. Luca's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, frowning. It was a message. From Marcus. I'm okay. Got the footage. Uploading now. This goes live in 1 hour. Stay safe. Luca showed Serena the screen. She felt a surge of hope mixed with terror. 1 hour, she said. And then everyone knows. 1 hour. Luca repeated. They sat in the stolen car, watching the clock tick down, knowing that in 60 minutes, their lives would change forever. And across the city, in her penthouse, Elena Russo received a phone call. She listened, her face going cold. Then she smashed her wine glass against the wall. Find them, she hissed into the phone. I don't care what it takes. Find them and end this. Because Elena knew what was coming. And she would burn the whole city down before she let Luca Moretti destroy everything she'd built. The story went live at 6 p.m. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Every news station, every website, every social media platform. Marcus had done exactly what he promised. Luca's face filled screens across the country as he sat in front of the camera, pale but resolute, and told the truth. About the money laundering, the corruption, the politicians on his father's payroll, the hit ordered on his own life. The 5 years spent sedated and hidden while his family used his death as cover. And he named names. Don Matteo Moretti, Elena Russo, city officials, judges, police commissioners, business leaders, every single person who had blood on their hands. Serena watched the video on Luca's phone, her throat tight. He looked so tired, so broken, but his voice never wavered. At the end, he looked directly into the camera. My name is Luca Moretti, and I am not afraid anymore. The video ended. Serena looked at Luca, who was staring out the windshield of the stolen car. You did it, she whispered. We did it, he corrected. His phone started buzzing. Calls, messages, notifications flooding in. He turned it off. Now what? Serena asked. Now we wait, Luca said, and hope the world cares enough to act. They drove to a motel on the outskirts of town. It was cheap, anonymous, the kind of place that didn't ask questions as long as you paid in cash. Luca used the last of the money Victoria had left in the safe house. The room was small and dingy, but it had a lock on the door and a TV mounted on the wall. Serena turned on the news. Every channel was covering the story. Breaking news banners scrolled across the screen. Reporters stood outside the Moretti mansion, outside City Hall, outside the police station. Legal experts debated the implications. Former associates came forward with their own stories. The floodgates had opened. And then the arrests began. First, a city councilman, led out of his office in handcuffs. Then a judge, pulled from her courtroom. Then a police captain, taken from his own precinct. The dominoes were falling. Serena sat on the edge of the bed, barely breathing. It's working. Luca, it's actually working. But Luca didn't look relieved. He looked haunted. My father's still out there, he said quietly. And so is Elena. As if on cue, the TV cut to breaking footage. The Moretti mansion. Federal agents swarming the property. Black SUVs. SWAT teams. And then, the image that made Serena's heart stop. Don Matteo Moretti, being escorted out in handcuffs. His face was stone. Unreadable. But as the camera zoomed in, Serena saw something flicker in his eyes. Not fear. Rage. He looked directly into the camera, and for a moment, it felt like he was looking right at them. This isn't over, his expression seemed to say. Luca turned off the TV. His hands were shaking. Serena moved beside him, wrapping her arms around him. It's over. He can't hurt you anymore. Luca shook his head. You don't understand. My father doesn't lose. Even in handcuffs, even behind bars, he has people. Loyalists. People who owe him everything. His voice cracked. He'll never stop coming for me. Then we don't stop running, Serena said fiercely. We disappear. We start over. We build a life he can never touch. Luca looked at her, his eyes red. You'd do that? Give up everything just to stay with me? I already gave up everything, Serena said softly. 5 years ago. The only thing I have left is you. Luca pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I don't deserve you. You keep saying that, Serena murmured. Maybe one day you'll believe me when I say you're wrong. They held each other in the silence, the weight of everything finally crashing down on them. But the silence didn't last. A knock at the door. Both of them froze. Luca grabbed the knife Serena had taken from the cabin. He moved toward the door, every muscle tense. Who is it? He called out. No answer. Another knock. Harder this time. Serena's heart pounded. She looked around for another weapon, grabbing a lamp. Luca peered through the peephole, then his whole body went rigid. What? Serena whispered. Who is it? Luca unlocked the door and pulled it open. Standing in the doorway was Victoria Castellano. She looked immaculate as always, though there was a hardness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. You've made quite a mess, nephew, she said, stepping inside without invitation. Luca closed the door behind her. "What are you doing here?" "Cleaning up," Victoria said. "As usual." She turned to Serena, her gaze sharp. You've got fire. I respect that. But fire burns both ways." Serena lifted her chin. "What do you want?" Victoria set her purse on the table and pulled out an envelope. Inside are 2 passports, new identities, tickets to Vancouver, and enough money to keep you comfortable for the next 5 years. She slid the envelope across the table. "Take it. Leave tonight. Don't look back." Luca stared at the envelope. "Why are you helping us?" Victoria's expression softened, just slightly. "Because you remind me of someone I used to know. Someone who tried to stand up to this family and paid the price." She paused. "And because, unlike your father, I believe some people deserve a second chance." "What about you?" Serena asked. "Won't this put you in danger?" Victoria smiled coldly. "I've been in danger my whole life. I'll survive." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "One more thing. Elena Russo escaped custody 2 hours ago." Serena's blood turned to ice. Victoria met Luca's eyes. "She's coming for you. And she won't stop until one of you is dead." She opened the door. "So if I were you, I'd be on that plane before sunrise." And then she was gone. Luca stared at the envelope on the table. Serena picked it up, her hands trembling. She opened it. 2 Canadian passports. Photos of them she'd never seen taken. New names. Boarding passes for a flight leaving in 4 hours. "We could actually leave," she said quietly. "We could actually be free." Luca looked at her. "Do you want to?" Serena thought about it. 5 years of sleeping on streets. 5 years of grief and loss. 5 years of surviving on scraps and hope. And now, a chance to start over. To be someone new. To build something real. "Yes," she said. "I want to." Luca nodded slowly. "Then let's go." They gathered what little they had. Serena tucked the passports into her coat. Luca grabbed the knife. They were almost out the door when Luca's phone buzzed one last time. He'd turned it off. But somehow, a message had come through anyway. It was a video. Luca hesitated, then opened it. Elena's face filled the screen. She was in a car, her hair disheveled, her makeup smudged. But her eyes were calm. Deadly calm. "Hello, Luca," she said softly. "I know you're watching this. I know you think you've won." She smiled. A cold, empty smile. "But you haven't. Because I know something you don't." She leaned closer to the camera. "Serena's pregnant." The world stopped. Serena felt the blood drain from her face. "What?" Elena laughed. "Oh, you didn't know? How delicious. I had my people run a test on the blood sample from the taxi crash. Congratulations. You're going to be a mother." Luca looked at Serena, his face pale. Serena couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Elena's voice turned ice cold. "So here's the deal, Luca. You come to me. Alone. Tonight. Or I make sure that child never takes its first breath." The video ended. Serena's knees gave out. Luca caught her, lowering her to the floor. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know." Luca's jaw was tight, his eyes burning. "It doesn't matter." "Yes it does," Serena choked out. "She's going to use it against us. She's going to." "No," Luca said firmly. "She's not." He pulled Serena to her feet, his hands gripping her shoulders. "Listen to me. We're getting on that plane. We're leaving. And we're never looking back." "But she said." "I don't care what she said," Luca interrupted. "She's bluffing. She has to be." But his voice wavered, and Serena saw the fear in his eyes. Because they both knew Elena Russo didn't bluff. And somewhere in the city, Elena sat in the back seat of a car, watching the dot on her screen. The tracker sheet had planted in Serena's coat. She smiled. "Come to me, Luca," she whispered. "Or lose everything." Serena ripped off her coat and threw it across the room. Check it. Check everything. Luca tore through the pockets, his fingers finding it almost immediately. A tiny black disc, no bigger than a button, sewn into the lining. He crushed it under his heel. But the damage was done. Elena knew where they were. Or at least, where they'd been. We need to move, Luca said. Now. They grabbed their things and bolted from the motel. The night air was cold, biting against Serena's skin. Her mind was spinning, her body numb. Pregnant. The word echoed in her head like a drumbeat. She pressed a hand to her stomach, feeling nothing but the fabric of her shirt and the fear clawing its way through her chest. Luca hot-wired another car in the parking lot, his hands moving fast and sure. They were inside and driving within 2 minutes. Serena stared out the window, her breath fogging the glass. Are we really going to pretend she's lying? Luca's grip tightened on the wheel. I don't know. We need to know, Serena said, her voice breaking. We need to know if you're carrying my child, Luca finished quietly. Serena turned to him, tears streaming down her face. What if I am? What if she's telling the truth? Then we protect it, Luca said fiercely. We protect you. Both of you. He reached over, taking her hand. No matter what happens. No matter what Elena does. I won't let her touch you. Serena squeezed his hand, but the fear didn't leave. Because she knew what Elena was capable of. And if there was even a chance that Serena was pregnant, Elena would use it like a weapon. They drove in silence for 20 minutes before pulling into a 24-hour pharmacy on the edge of town. Wait here, Serena said. Luca looked at her. Serena, I need to know, she said firmly. Right now. I need to know. She walked into the bright, sterile store, her legs shaking. The aisles stretched out in front of her, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. She found what she was looking for near the back. Pregnancy tests. A whole row of them. She grabbed one and paid in cash, avoiding eye contact with the bored cashier. Back in the car, she held the box in her lap, staring at it like it might explode. Luca said nothing, just drove until they found a rest stop with a bathroom. Serena got out, clutching the box. I'll be right back. Take your time, Luca said quietly. The bathroom was cold and dirty, the kind of place that made your skin crawl. But Serena didn't care. She locked herself in a stall, hands trembling as she opened the box and read the instructions. 3 minutes. She did what she had to do, then set the test on the edge of the sink and stared at it. The seconds felt like hours. Her heart pounded in her ears. Her vision blurred with tears. And then, slowly, 2 pink lines appeared. Positive. Serena's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, her back against the stall, her hands covering her face. She was pregnant. With Luca's child. A sob tore from her throat. She didn't know if it was grief or joy or terror. Maybe all three. After what felt like forever, she pulled herself together. She washed her face, stuffed the test back in the box, and walked out. Luca was leaning against the car, his arms crossed, his face tight with worry. When he saw her, he straightened. Well, Serena held up the box. She's not lying. Luca's face went pale. He stepped forward, taking the box from her hands, staring at it like he didn't believe it. You're sure? Serena nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm pregnant. Luca. We're having a baby. For a moment, he just stood there, frozen. And then he pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. We're having a baby, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Serena clung to him, her tears soaking into his shirt. What are we going to do? We're going to survive, Luca said fiercely. We're going to get on that plane, and we're going to disappear, and we're going to raise our child somewhere far away from all of this. Serena pulled back, looking up at him. But Elena will never find us, Luca said. I promise you. She will never touch you or our child. Serena wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But the fear in his eyes told her he wasn't sure either. They got back in the car and drove toward the airport. The flight was in 2 hours. If they could just make it that long. If they could just get through security, get on the plane, get out of the country. But as they pulled onto the highway, Serena saw headlights behind them. 2 cars. Moving fast. Luca, she said quietly. He checked the rearview mirror. His jaw clenched. Hold on. He slammed on the gas. The car lurched forward, engine roaring. The headlights stayed close. They're not backing off, Serena said, her voice shaking. I know, Luca said through gritted teeth. He swerved onto an exit ramp, tires squealing. The cars followed. One pulled up beside them, and Serena saw the window roll down. A gun appeared. Luca, get down. The shot shattered the side mirror. Glass exploded. Serena screamed. Luca jerked the wheel, slamming into the other car. Metal crunched. The car spun out, crashing into the guardrail. But the second car was still there. Luca took another sharp turn, speeding down a narrow back road. Trees blurred past. The car behind them stayed close, relentless. We can't outrun them, Serena gasped. Luca didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the road ahead. And then Serena saw it. A bridge. Old. Narrow. Wooden planks barely holding together. Luca, no. He floored it. The car shot onto the bridge, the planks groaning under the weight. Behind them, the second car followed. Halfway across, the bridge began to crack. Luca punched the gas harder. The car flew forward, wheels barely touching the planks. And then they were across. The car behind them wasn't as lucky. The bridge collapsed beneath it. The car plunged into the ravine below, disappearing into darkness. Luca didn't slow down. He kept driving, his knuckles white on the wheel. Serena sat frozen, her heart hammering, her hand pressed to her stomach. They'd made it. Barely. But they'd made it. Luca finally pulled over on the side of the road, his whole body shaking. He leaned forward, resting his forehead on the steering wheel. Serena reached over, touching his shoulder. It's okay. We're okay. Luca looked at her, his eyes red. I almost got you killed. I almost got our baby killed. But you didn't, Serena said firmly. We're still here. We're still alive. Luca closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. Serena glanced at the clock on the dashboard. They had 1 hour before the flight. We can still make it, she said. Luca nodded. He started the car again. But as they drove toward the airport, Serena's phone buzzed. Another message. Another video. She didn't want to open it. But she had to. Elena's face filled the screen again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Sitting beside her, gagged and bound, was Marcus Hahn. Hello again, Elena said sweetly. I thought you might want to see your friend. He's been very helpful. Told me everything about your little escape plan. Marcus's eyes were wide with terror. Elena leaned closer to the camera. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet me. Tonight. At the old shipping yard on the waterfront. Just you, Luca. No police. No tricks. She smiled. Or Marcus dies. And trust me, it won't be quick. The video ended. Serena's hands shook. They have Marcus. Luca stared straight ahead, his face carved from stone. It's a trap, Serena said desperately. You know it's a trap. I know, Luca said quietly. Then we don't go. We get on that plane. She'll kill him, Luca interrupted. And then she'll keep coming. She'll never stop. He turned to Serena, his eyes filled with pain. I have to end this. Tonight. Serena shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, Luca, you can't. She'll kill you. Maybe, Luca said. But if I don't go, she'll kill all of us. He reached over, cupping her face in his hands. Take the passports. Get on that plane. Raise our child somewhere safe. I'm not leaving you, Serena said fiercely. You have to, Luca whispered. For our baby. Serena's whole body shook with sobs. Please don't do this. Luca kissed her forehead, then her lips, slow and tender. I love you, he said. I've loved you since the moment I met you, and I will love you until my last breath. He pulled away and stepped out of the car. Serena screamed his name, reaching for him. But he was already walking away, disappearing into the night. And all she could do was sit there, broken and terrified, knowing she might never see him again. Serena sat in the car for exactly 30 seconds after Luca disappeared into the darkness. Then she wiped her tears, grabbed the knife from the glove compartment, and followed him. She wasn't losing him again. Not now. Not ever. The shipping yard was a graveyard of rusted containers and broken machinery. The air smelled like oil and seawater. Serena moved carefully between the shadows, her heart pounding, the knife gripped tightly in her hand. Ahead, she saw light. Floodlights illuminating a clearing in the center of the yard. And there, standing in the middle, was Luca. Elena stood opposite him, flanked by 4 armed men. Marcus was on his knees beside her, blood trickling from a cut above his eye. Serena crouched behind a container, close enough to hear but hidden from view. "You came," Elena said, her voice echoing across the yard. "I wasn't sure you would. Where's my father?" Luca asked coldly. Elena smiled. "In a federal holding cell, screaming about betrayal and vengeance. It's quite pathetic, really." She took a step closer. "But you and I both know he'll be out within a week. Men like Don Matteo don't stay locked up. They have too many friends, too much leverage." "Then why are we here?" Luca asked. "Because I want to give you a choice," Elena said. "Walk away from her. From Serena. From this fantasy of a normal life. Come back to the family. Help me rebuild what you destroyed." Her voice softened. "We can rule this city together, Luca. The way it was always meant to be." Luca stared at her, his expression unreadable. "And if I say no?" Elena's smile vanished. "Then you die. And so does she. And so does the child she's carrying." Luca's jaw clenched. "You won't touch them." "I won't have to," Elena said. "The people your father worked with. They want you dead, Luca. And they won't stop until you are. The only thing keeping you alive right now is me." She gestured to the men around her. "I can protect you. I can make this all go away. But only if you choose me." Luca was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "I'd rather die free than live as your prisoner." Elena's face twisted with fury. "Then you're a fool." She nodded to one of the men. He raised his gun, aiming at Marcus. "Wait," Luca shouted, stepping forward. "Let him go. This is between us." Elena tilted her head. "You're right. It is." She pulled a gun from her coat and shot Marcus herself. The sound echoed across the yard. Marcus crumpled to the ground, clutching his shoulder, gasping in pain. "No," Luca yelled. Serena's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a scream. Elena pointed the gun at Luca. "Last chance. Choose." Luca stared at her, his hands raised. His face was calm. Too calm. "All right," he said quietly. "I choose." Elena lowered the gun slightly, a flicker of hope crossing her face. "You'll come back." "No," Luca said. "I choose her." And then everything happened at once. Luca lunged forward, grabbing Elena's wrist and twisting it. The gun fired into the air. One of the guards rushed toward them, but Luca kicked him in the knee, sending him sprawling. Serena didn't think. She ran. She burst from the shadows, knife raised, and drove it into the arm of the second guard before he could fire. He screamed, dropping his weapon. Luca's eyes widened as he saw her. "Serena! No!" Another guard grabbed her from behind, his arm wrapping around her throat. She clawed at him, gasping for air. Luca slammed his elbow into Elena's face and spun toward Serena. He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it hard, connecting with the guard's skull. The man dropped. Serena collapsed, coughing and gasping. Luca pulled her to her feet. "I told you to leave." "I don't listen very well," Serena rasped. The remaining guards opened fire. Bullets ricocheted off the containers. Luca grabbed Serena's hand and they ran, weaving through the maze of metal. Behind them, Elena screamed orders. "Find them. Kill them both." Serena's lungs burned. Her legs ached. But she didn't stop. They ducked behind a container, pressing themselves against the cold metal. Luca pulled out the gun he'd taken from the first guard. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Footsteps approached. Slow. Methodical. Luca raised the gun, his finger on the trigger. The guard rounded the corner. Luca fired. The man went down. They kept moving, climbing over broken machinery, slipping through narrow gaps. The shipping yard was massive, a labyrinth of steel and shadow. But Elena's men knew it too. Serena heard voices calling out positions, coordinating. They were being herded, cornered. "Luca, we're trapped." "No," Luca said, his eyes scanning the area. "There." He pointed to a crane at the edge of the yard. "Beyond it, the water. We jump." Serena stared at him. "Are you insane? You have a better idea?" A bullet pinged off the metal beside them. "Let's go," Serena said. They sprinted toward the crane, bullets chasing them. Luca fired back, covering their escape. They reached the edge of the dock. The water below was black and cold, waves crashing against the pilings. "On three," Luca said, grabbing her hand. 1. Serena took a deep breath. 2. Behind them, Elena appeared, her face twisted with rage, her gun raised. 3. They jumped. The water hit like ice, stealing the breath from Serena's lungs. She kicked hard, breaking the surface, gasping. Luca surfaced beside her. "Swim. Don't stop." They swam toward the far side of the harbor, away from the lights, away from the gunfire that continued to echo behind them. Serena's arms burned. Her clothes weighed her down. But she kept going. Finally, they reached a rusted ladder on the side of an old pier. Luca climbed up first, then pulled Serena up after him. They collapsed on the wet wood, shivering and gasping. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Luca started laughing. A desperate, exhausted, half-hysterical laugh. Serena looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "What's so funny?" "We're alive," Luca said, still laughing. "We actually made it." Serena couldn't help it. She started laughing too. Tears streaming down her face, her whole body shaking with relief and terror and something that felt almost like joy. Luca pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I put you through this." "Stop apologizing," Serena whispered. "Just promise me we're done running." Luca looked at her, his eyes serious. "We're done running. I swear." Serena kissed him, hard and desperate, pouring everything she couldn't say into that moment. When they finally pulled apart, Luca stood, helping her to her feet. "We need to get to the airport. Now." They stumbled through back alleys and side streets, soaking wet and freezing, but alive. An hour later, they were at the airport. Serena used the bathroom to clean up as best she could, changing into a hoodie she bought from a gift shop. Luca did the same. They looked like exhausted travelers. Nothing more. At the gate, Serena handed over her new passport, her heart in her throat. The agent scanned it, looked at her face, then stamped it. "Have a nice flight." Serena exhaled. They boarded the plane, found their seats near the back, and sat in silence as the cabin filled. The plane began to taxi. Serena reached for Luca's hand. He squeezed it tight. And then they were in the air, leaving the city behind, leaving the nightmare behind. Serena looked out the window at the lights below, growing smaller and smaller. "It's over," she whispered. Luca kissed her hand. "It's over." But somewhere below, in a hospital room, Elena Russo sat with her arm in a sling, staring at her phone. On the screen was a single message. "They're gone." Elena's face remained expressionless. Then she typed back, "Find them," and hit send. Because for Elena Russo, it wasn't over. It would never be over. Not until Luca Moretti was dead. 6 months later. The cabin sat on the edge of a quiet lake in northern British Columbia, surrounded by pine trees and mountains that touched the sky. Snow blanketed the ground, turning the world into something clean and untouched. Serena stood at the window, one hand resting on her swollen belly, watching the sunrise paint the water gold and pink. She was 7 months pregnant now, her body round and heavy with life. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Luca wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her stomach. "Morning," he murmured, kissing her neck. "Morning," she whispered back. They stood like that for a long moment, just breathing, just being. Life had been quiet here. Simple. Luca worked at a construction company in the nearby town, using his new name, his new identity. Serena had found work at a local bookstore, shelving novels and recommending stories to customers who had no idea who she really was. They'd made friends. Real friends. People who invited them to dinners and asked about the baby and never questioned their past. For the first time in years, Serena felt safe. But safety, she'd learned, was fragile. Luca's phone buzzed on the counter. He pulled away to check it, and Serena saw his expression change. "What is it?" she asked. He showed her the screen. It was a message from Victoria. "Your father died last night. Heart attack. Thought you should know." Serena watched Luca's face carefully. He stared at the message for a long time, his jaw tight. "How do you feel?" she asked gently. Luca set the phone down. "I don't know. He tried to kill me. But he was still my father." Serena took his hand. "You don't have to feel anything. Whatever you feel is okay." Luca nodded slowly. Then he pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. "I just want to focus on this. On us. On our family." Serena closed her eyes, breathing him in. "Me too." But later that day, as Serena was closing up the bookstore, something felt wrong. The street was too quiet. The usual evening bustle was gone. And there, across the street, parked under a streetlight, was a black sedan. Serena's blood ran cold. She locked the door quickly and walked toward her car, her keys clutched in her fist. She didn't look at the sedan, didn't acknowledge it. But as she opened her car door, she saw the sedan's window roll down. A woman stepped out. Elena. She looked different. Thinner. Harder. Her hair was cut short, her clothes simple. But her eyes were the same. Cold and calculating. Serena froze. Elena walked across the street, her hands in her coat pockets. "Hello. Serena." Serena's heart pounded. "How did you find us?" Elena smiled. "Did you really think you could disappear? That I'd just let you go?" Serena glanced around. The street was empty. No one to help. No one to witness. "What do you want?" Serena asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Elena's gaze dropped to Serena's belly. "I want what's mine." "The baby isn't yours," Serena said through gritted teeth. "Luca is mine," Elena corrected. "And that child is a Moretti. It belongs with the family." Serena stepped back, her hand protectively over her stomach. "You're insane." Elena's expression darkened. "No. I'm determined. There's a difference." She pulled her hand from her pocket. Not a gun. A syringe. Serena's breath caught. "It's just a sedative," Elena said calmly. "You'll wake up in a few hours. By then, you'll be somewhere safe. Somewhere Luca will never find you." "You won't touch me," Serena said, backing toward her car. Elena lunged. Serena screamed, swinging her keys. They connected with Elena's face, drawing blood. Elena stumbled, cursing. Serena yanked open her car door and dove inside, slamming the locks. Elena pounded on the window. "You can't run forever, Serena. I will find you. I will take that child. And I will make sure Luca watches you die." Serena started the engine, her hands shaking violently. She threw the car into reverse and floored it. Elena jumped back, watching as Serena sped away. Serena drove blindly, tears streaming down her face, her whole body trembling. She pulled over on a side road and grabbed her phone, dialing Luca. He answered immediately. "Serena, what's wrong?" "She found us," Serena gasped. "Elena. She's here. She tried to. Where are you?" Luca's voice was sharp, urgent. "I don't know. A mile from the bookstore." "Luca, she said she's going to take the baby." She said. "Listen to me," Luca interrupted. Drive to the police station. Right now. Don't stop. Don't go home. I'm calling Detective Morris. He'll protect you. Okay, Serena whispered. Okay. I'm coming, Luca said. I'm on my way. Just hold on. Serena hung up and drove toward the police station, checking her mirrors every few seconds. No sign of the black sedan. But she didn't feel safe. At the station, Detective Morris met her at the door. He was a kind man in his 50s who'd helped them get settled when they first arrived. He knew pieces of their story, enough to know they were running from something dangerous. He ushered her inside, into a quiet room with a couch and a cup of tea. You're safe here, he said gently. No one's getting to you. Serena nodded, but she couldn't stop shaking. 20 minutes later, Luca burst through the door. He dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands framing her face. Are you okay? Is the baby okay? We're fine, Serena said, though her voice broke. Luca, she's not going to stop. I know, Luca said quietly. Detective Morris cleared his throat. I've already contacted the RCMP. We'll have officers watching your house and the bookstore. If this woman shows up again, we'll arrest her. She's connected, Luca said bitterly. She has money. Lawyers. She'll be out in hours. Not if we build a case, Morris said. Harassment. Stalking. Attempted assault. We can hold her long enough to get you both somewhere safer. Luca looked at Serena. We can't keep running. I know, Serena whispered. Then we end this, Luca said. Tonight. Detective Morris frowned. What are you planning? A trap, Luca said. We make Elena think she's won. And when she comes for us, you arrest her. For good. Morris hesitated. That's risky. Everything about our lives is risky, Luca said. But I'm done living in fear. Serena looked at him, her heart aching. Are you sure? Luca took her hand. I'm sure. We do this together. Serena nodded slowly. Together. That night, they returned to the cabin, surrounded by plainclothes officers hidden in the trees. Luca sent a message to Elena from a burner phone. You win. Meet me at the cabin. Let's end this. Within an hour, headlights appeared on the road. Serena watched from the window, her heart in her throat. Elena stepped out of the car, alone. She walked slowly toward the cabin, her face unreadable. Luca opened the door before she could knock. Elena, he said quietly. Luca, she replied, her voice soft, almost sad. They stood there, facing each other, the weight of everything between them. And then Elena smiled. A real smile. Not cold. Not calculating. Just broken. I loved you, you know, she said. I really did. I know, Luca said. But love isn't supposed to hurt like this. Elena's smile faded. Then I guess we were never meant to be. She reached into her coat. And the officers moved. Within seconds, Elena was on the ground, handcuffed, shouting and struggling. Luca stepped back, his face pale. Serena appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. Elena looked up at them, her eyes blazing with fury and something that looked almost like grief. This isn't over, she hissed. Yes, Serena said quietly. It is. The officers led Elena away. And for the first time, Serena believed it. It was really over. 3 months later. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and the sound of rain tapping against the window. Serena lay in the bed, exhausted and glowing, her hair damp with sweat. In her arms was a tiny bundle wrapped in a pale yellow blanket. Luca sat beside her, his eyes red, his hand gently stroking the baby's impossibly small fingers. He hadn't stopped staring since the moment their daughter was born. She's perfect, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Serena smiled, tears slipping down her cheeks. She has your eyes. Luca leaned down, kissing Serena's forehead, then the baby's. I never thought I'd get to have this. A family. A real family. You deserve it, Serena said softly. We both do. The baby made a small sound, her tiny fist curling around Luca's finger. He laughed, a sound of pure wonder. What should we name her? He asked. Serena had been thinking about this for weeks. She looked down at her daughter, at the new life they'd fought so hard to protect. Hope, she said. Her name is Hope. Luca's eyes filled with tears. He nodded, unable to speak. Hope Moretti, Serena continued, then paused. Actually, no, not Moretti. Luca looked at her, questioning. Hope Hale, Serena said firmly. She's not carrying that weight. She's starting fresh. Just like us. Luca smiled through his tears. Hope Hale. I love it. A soft knock came at the door. Detective Morris stepped in, holding a small stuffed bear. Thought I'd stop by and meet the newest resident of our town, he said with a warm smile. Serena gestured him closer. Detective, meet Hope. Morris peered at the baby, his expression softening. She's beautiful. Congratulations to you both. Thank you, Luca said. For everything. We wouldn't be here without you. Morris waved him off. You did the hard part. I just made a few phone calls. He grew more serious. I wanted to let you know. Elena Russo's trial is set for next month. Between the assault charges, the stalking evidence, and witness testimony, the prosecutor's confident she'll be put away for a long time. Serena felt a weight lift from her chest. So it's really over? Morris nodded. She can't hurt you anymore. Either of you. Luca squeezed Serena's hand. Thank you. After Morris left, a nurse came in to check on Serena and the baby. She smiled warmly at the little family. You've got visitors waiting outside, she said. Should I send them in? Serena and Luca exchanged glances. Visitors. The door opened, and Victoria Castellano walked in, elegant as ever, carrying a large gift bag. I hope I'm not intruding, she said. Luca stood, surprised. Aunt Victoria. How did you? I have my ways, Victoria said with a slight smile. She approached the bed, her eyes softening as she looked at the baby. May I? Serena carefully transferred Hope into Victoria's arms. The older woman held her with surprising tenderness, her usual hard exterior melting away. She's extraordinary, Victoria murmured. A new generation. A clean slate. She looked at Luca. Your father would have seen her as a pawn. A tool. But I see her as what she truly is. A miracle. Luca's throat tightened. Thank you. For everything you've done for us. Victoria handed Hope back to Serena. I didn't do it for gratitude. I did it because you deserved a chance to choose your own path. She set the gift bag on the table. Inside was an envelope. Luca opened it. His eyes widened. It was a trust fund. For Hope. Enough to pay for her education, her future, whatever she needed. I can't accept this, Luca said. You can. And you will, Victoria said firmly. Consider it my way of ensuring the Moretti name does some good in this world for once. She moved toward the door, then paused. Live well, nephew. Be happy. That's the best revenge against those who tried to destroy you. And then she was gone. Serena looked at Luca, tears streaming down her face. We really made it, didn't we? Luca sat back down beside her, wrapping his arm around both of them. Yeah, we really did. 6 weeks later, Serena stood in the kitchen of their cabin, watching snow fall softly outside. Hope was asleep in a bassinet nearby, her tiny chest rising and falling peacefully. Luca came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? Everything, Serena said quietly. 5 years ago, I was sleeping under an overpass. I had nothing. No one. And now. She gestured around the warm, cozy kitchen. Now I have everything. Luca turned her around to face him. You saved me, you know. That day at the funeral. You didn't just stop them from burying me. You brought me back to life. Serena cupped his face. You saved me too. You gave me a reason to keep fighting. They kissed, soft and slow, a promise of all the tomorrows they'd fought so hard to have. Hope began to fuss, and Serena pulled away with a laugh. Duty calls. As she picked up their daughter, Luca watched them, his heart so full it ached. This was what freedom felt like. Not wealth. Not power. Not revenge. Just love. Just family. Just peace. And it was everything. 1 year later, Serena stood on the porch of their cabin, hope balanced on her hip, watching as Luca worked in the garden he'd planted that spring. The little girl babbled happily, reaching for the butterflies floating past. "Mama," she said, one of her first words. Serena kissed her chubby cheek. "That's right, baby. Mama's right here." Luca looked up, dirt on his hands and a smile on his face. "You two look beautiful." "You're biased," Serena teased. "Completely," Luca agreed, walking over to kiss them both. A car pulled up the long driveway. Serena tensed instinctively, but Luca squeezed her hand. "It's okay. I'm expecting someone." A woman stepped out of the car. Middle-aged, professional-looking, carrying a briefcase. "Mr. and Mrs. Hale?" she asked. "That's us," Luca said. The woman smiled. "I'm Patricia Chen from the adoption agency. I wanted to personally deliver the final paperwork." She handed them a folder. "Congratulations. Hope's adoption is official. Legally, permanently, she's yours." Serena's eyes filled with tears. Even though Hope was biologically theirs, they decided to legally adopt her under their new names, severing any connection to the Moretti family forever. "Thank you," Serena whispered, clutching the papers. After Patricia left, Luca held up the document. "To new beginnings." Serena clinked her coffee mug against his. "To new beginnings." Hope laughed, reaching for both of them, and they pulled her into a group hug, the three of them wrapped in sunlight and love. Somewhere far away, in a maximum security prison, Elena Russo sat in her cell, staring at the wall. She'd stopped writing letters, stopped making calls, stopped fighting, because she'd finally realized something. Luca was never hers to begin with, and perhaps he never had been. A guard walked by. "Russo, you've got mail." Elena didn't move. The envelope slid through the slot in her door. She stared at it for a long time before finally picking it up. Inside was a single photograph. Luca, Serena, and a baby girl, standing in front of a cabin, smiling. On the back, in Luca's handwriting, were 3 words. "We are free." Elena's hands shook. Then, slowly, she tore the photo in half. And then in half again. And again. Until it was nothing but pieces scattered across the floor. But even as she destroyed the image, she couldn't destroy the truth. They had won. And she had lost. Back at the cabin, as the sun set over the mountains, Serena rocked Hope to sleep, humming softly. Luca sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders, watching his daughter's eyes slowly close. "Do you ever think about going back?" Serena asked quietly. "To the city. To that life." Luca shook his head. "That life almost killed us. This life saved us." He kissed Serena's temple. "I have everything I need right here." Serena leaned into him, her heart full. Outside, the stars began to appear, one by one, lighting up the dark sky. And inside the little cabin by the lake, a family who had survived the impossible finally found what they'd been searching for all along. Peace. Love. Home. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always comes. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done in Serena's shoes. Would you have stopped that funeral? Would you have fought for love against all odds? Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in stories that remind us that hope never dies. Until next time, remember that your story isn't over. Not yet. Not ever.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.